you can tell the weather's getting colder and colder. Summer's almost officially over. And what did I read today? How about this one? It sounded like good news in terms of officials using drones to, I guess, find a missing person. This one was written by the Webster Parish Sheriff's Office. As it says here, 10-year-old Peyton Saitinan is safe and back at home after a day-long search Sunday involving many law enforcement agencies and hundreds of volunteers. Webster Parish Sheriff Jason Parker said the young girl was found at 11 p.m. Sunday with the aid of thermal imaging equipped drones offered by Magnolia, Arkansas's company that heard of the search and offered assistance. So that's kind of cool actually, just reading that in the news saying, hey, I have the equipment to help you out, do you want to use it? And I guess they said, okay, go for it. It says, quote, she was in dense woods roughly 300 yards from where a trail camera had recorded her earlier Sunday morning. Parker said, she was asleep when we found her. We've had her checked by EMS and she is fine, back at home and hungry. Parker said he was contacted by Drone Management Services LLC of Magnolia with the offer of assistance from their specially equipped drones. A member of the company learned of the search from his brother-in-law in Minden residence, saying, quote, we had the DeSoto Parish helicopter in the air and couldn't put drones up at the time, but when it was possible, Josh Klober, Matt Ramos, and Mika Carter brought their equipment and successfully located the young girl. Parker said, oh, imagine that. They were trying to use a helicopter at first, but without success, and I guess afterwards they determined, might as well try the drone. It's a good example too in terms of using the tech in a good way. Can you imagine here if these officials said, for example, oh, it's illegal 100%, we can't ever use this stuff, you have to go through all this rigorous approval process, whereas in many cases it is pretty straightforward to use it and it's perfectly safe, correct? It is kind of neat too how they provided all this media where you can actually see how the actual rescue and stuff took place, the thermal camera and all that in the drone. By the way, good use of the tech in my opinion. And when I thought of drones, I was wondering here, what, Gatwick in the story again? As we all know, that Gatwick incident, they kept blaming it was a drone that caused all the delays, but they ended up not finding anything. Well, how about this one? Apparently there was a fine of sort where someone actually admitted there was a drone used as they were using it for filming purposes. It says here, filmmaker who worked with Olivia Colman and Tom Hardy is fined after delaying Gatwick airport flight by flying his drone over restricted area. Vassos Hadjigeorgiou, if that's how you say it, told a court he was working on a film project when he flew his drone over the UK's second busiest airport. The 43-year-old has worked for the NHS and National Trust and the BBC on projects involving Olivia Colman, Tom Hardy, and James Frain. Crawley Magistrates Court heard how the filmmaker delayed at least one flight by flying his drone over a restricted area. He was fined £365 after admitting flying his drone over the airport. Hadjigeorgiou of Holland Close Crawley wore a shirt, gray jacket and tie and spoke only to confirm his name and date of birth. Roberto Lervalino, Gatwick Control Center manager, told the court, fortunately, due to the time of the day, only one departing flight was delayed. Had his drone flight appeared during peak times, it would have caused serious delays which could have run into multiple days. This could put extra pressure on UK border forces. It makes you wonder whether or not they were kind of glad this was a drone just based on what happened before where they didn't find anything, so at least now they can say, hey, there are like quote drones flying in the area. It does further say too, Deputy District Judge Claire Boychett emphasized the seriousness of the offense and said it is your responsibility to make sure you fully adhere to the rules about drones this area. Hadjigeorgiou holds a bachelor's degree in media and a master's in film production from the University of Lincoln. More than 100 drone sightings were reported near the runway at Gatwick in 2018, forcing the airport to close for 3 days and grounding over 140,000 passengers. Although with that, they say despite a lengthy police investigation, no culprit was found, and police still believe it was a malicious attack. Is it a malicious attack or just incorrect assumptions per se, and no one wanted to take responsibility for it because you would look really bad professionally? But either way, I guess here they can at least say, yeah, there are drones around here. And this was all over the news today, which was kind of interesting. It dealt with that incident where recently Sean Diddy Combs was arrested under all those charges of apparently he was running this sex trafficking ring and all that. Apparently it's really scandalous. It expands across, I guess, multiple avenues of entertainment and all that. There's so many people involved. Well, he was put in jail just recently and they were trying to fight, I guess, that notion of, oh, this guy's too dangerous, you can't let him out. For example, he was willing to apparently, like, I don't know, sell his house or something like that, like offer like millions of dollars just to avoid jail time. But either way, he's put in jail, and now they're saying because of that, this guy's on suicide watch. Like it says, Sean Diddy Combs placed on suicide watch while awaiting trial, but mental state unclear. Sources say Sean Diddy Combs is on suicide watch as he awaits trial in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, source tell People. Combs, 54, was arrested at a Manhattan hotel on the night of Monday, September 16th. The next day, his indictment was unsealed, revealing that he's charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He was remanded to MDC on Tuesday, September 17th after pleading not guilty and being denied bail twice this week. It is not known if Combs is suicidal or how long he has been on suicide watch. Sources tell People that it is for preventative measures as Combs is in shock and his mental state is unclear. While there's a lot of conversations saying, okay, it's basically somebody that's rich, for example, now having, let's just say, to live into that tight, dirty space, and that's what you want to say, that creates a lot of mental distress. But one topic that actually came up was apparently, I guess, this place, a lot of other, I guess, famous, quote, criminals or whatever actually stayed in a place like this. And one story that came up to mind with this type of scandal with sex trafficking and all that was that Jeffrey Epstein person, where even though he was put in custody and all that, he just magically, I guess, quote, committed suicide, and everyone's thinking, okay, that's a little too coincidental, isn't it? No video evidence or whatever, the security guards and so forth, they just like fell asleep or something like that. So people are assuming that's what might potentially happen here because of how scandalous this whole situation is. So it makes you wonder whether or not that would actually happen in this case too. What would you think? I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if it happens. But it makes you think too, because that's an interesting point where people were saying a lot of the people associated with them all of a sudden went to hiding, they resigned from their positions, retired and so forth. It just makes me wonder with so many other industries on how true that probably is, how corrupt it is, when you're wondering why it's only like certain, I guess, groups of people that seem to be getting ahead. That could be why, in terms of people getting blackmailed or essentially being a part of this whole operation. Would you believe that actually when it comes to things like over-the-top regulations, where there is like a circle of people trying to influence things in that way, like in a blackmailing way, for example? Like, yeah, you better follow this or else. It's probably not as, I guess, graphic as this, but I wouldn't doubt if it's kind of similar in many ways. See you guys later.